Hi, you're listening to Dusk to Dawn, reading horror and weird fiction. We're your hosts, Amber and Dan.
Follow us on Instagram at Dusk to Dawn Podcast. Please rate our show wherever you're listening, and let's get started. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. We have a nice, sweet children's story for you this week. April Fools. We got a 6-slasher for you at the top of our month of Psycho. Starting with Victorian Psycho, which we are talking about today. And will be followed by the regular old classic Psycho after that.
Or the OG, you could call
the
it.
OG. And then finishing off with American Psycho after that. So by the end of this month, we will certainly be psychotic.
Yes.
But,
and if you didn't grasp the order of things, we did it chronologically based on the story's timeline. So Victorian Psycho takes place in Victorian England. Psycho takes place in the 60s, I think, or the 40s. One or the other, around there-ish. Early mid-century American. And then American Psycho takes place in the 1980s.
I didn't know that was the reasoning. I think you just said, this is the order we're doing.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, so I thought it'd be fun to do a chronological. And some random little tidbits about it being the month of Psycho. I have a few reasons why I figured it would work. First of all, it is Anthony Perkins' birthday on the 4th, and Anthony Perkins played Norman Bates in the film Psycho. And also, it is tax day this year.
It's funny
this month.
Because I only hear Anthony Perkins' name in connection with Norman Bates, so sometimes I think Anthony Perkins is the name of the character in Psycho.
Yeah. I think it's easy to remember, the Bates Motel, right?
But starting with Victorian Psycho, this was certainly not the oldest published book because this came out in 2025, so it is quite new. This was a COVID write-up. I learned during an author interview.
I believe it.
I can't think of anything more fun than during COVID reading about all the incredible messed up cultural aspects of Victorian England. That must have been fun.
Yeah.
Let's go right into it. Let's talk about this author. There's not much. It's just a little blurb. I couldn't find a whole lot more.
Yeah, well, I know she's also not really on social media, so
that's probably
she must be
good
European.
For her mental health.
I feel like only Americans really give a shit about being heavily on social media and promoting themselves in their art form or whatever. As an author in America, you pretty much, if you want to be published by one of the big four, you pretty much have to have a social media presence. I know it's not totally true, but it's highly encouraged, and that's not the case, I think, anywhere else in the world, because a number of times when we've read foreign authors, or just in my interest of following authors that I like that are foreign, they're much more difficult to find sometimes.
I kind of like that. I think the author is at their most interesting in their book.
Yeah, agreed.
Oftentimes when you meet them, it's like, oh, they're just a person.
Yeah, I think we're going to have that problem with American Psycho.
Yeah, you've mentioned that. I don't know a whole lot about that author. Bret, Easton, Ellis. I did a little bit of preliminary research, and he had some beef with David Foster Wallace. So I'll get into that a little bit, which, I don't know, it's cool to talk about some writer beef.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about
our author,
Virginia Feito.
Today. Yeah, so Virginia Feito is a native of Spain. She was raised in Madrid and Paris and studied English and drama at Queen Mary University of London. She worked as a copywriter until she quit to write her debut novel, Mrs. March, which won some awards and was named one of the best books of 2022 by British daily newspaper The Times. She lives currently in Madrid. And Victorian Psycho was published in 2025. I don't know if you've said that already.
I did.
Okay, you did. So,
but now you really know.
Now you really, really know.
So you've probably seen this at bookstores, I would assume, if you go looking for these kind of things.
Yeah, the cover is like a doll, like a Victorian doll with yellow font. And when I first saw it before I read the synopsis, which you usually do. And I was like, this looks kind of weird. And it was, but not in the way that I first anticipated. I don't know. I thought it was going to be like a possessed doll thing.
It does look like that based on the cover.
Yeah. And it wasn't.
I got a nice, real quick summary for this one. Always my favorite. Winifred Notty becomes the new governess for the Pounds family at the prestigious Ensor House in Victorian England. She's crazy and things go poorly for the family.
Nice. That
about sums it up.
Yeah. I'd say you nailed it.
Let's talk a little bit about Victorian England. I feel like most of us, I'm obviously generalizing, I don't know what you guys are all like, but we kind of have an idea of Victorian England is about, right?
Yeah, Charles Dickens.
Yeah.
Industrialization, coal mining. I don't know. This
Misogyny,
is not. Well, when it didn't have
enormous classism.
Yeah, I actually don't know much about this time period. This is post my knowledge on England. I kind of lose track of what happens in England after the Tudors.
Well, I got a little something here for us who want a little more detail about exactly when this was. So, believe it or not, Victorian England spanned the 63-year reign of Queen Victoria, beginning on June 20th, 1837, when she took the throne, and ending with her death on January 22nd, 1901. So this is similar to Godzilla, how there's like the Showa era.
Oh, yes.
And the Heisei era. Those were apparently like names of the emperors during this time.
Yes, yeah. But that's a normal Japanese.
Yeah, I know. But this was another thing, too, where I had never thought of where the name Victorian England came from. I just knew what it was. So when I read that it was the era during Queen Victoria's reign, it was like, oh, duh. And the era was characterized, as Amber already mentioned, by industrial revolution, significant expansion of the British Empire, and major social, political, and scientific changes. One thing I do want to mention about Queen Victoria, I got a little dish on her. Check this out. So within this book, we have some disgusting aristocratic dinners. I mean, just like 6-course meals of 8 different kinds of meats and Jell-O mold, just like nauseating stuff. But Queen Victoria herself was apparently something of a glutton who could put away 7 courses in less than half an hour. And since everyone was served after the Queen, there was a good chance that you would leave one of her magnificent banquets very hungry.
Oh my God. I just imagine her like shooting back oysters like nobody's business.
Yeah. They bring her a dozen, just like,
oh yes,
it's like a bullet belt or something.
It's such an interesting concept, right? Like you have to basically then in this instance watch the Queen eat. But I'm sure if you're also at the Queen's table, you're not, even if you leave the table hungry, you're not like going home and starving, eating your dry, crusty, old, moldy bread.
I just imagine she's like slurping and burping and is like disgusting and no one can make gross faces. Here's what's really interesting too, though, is so we have the Queen, right? But this was also a time of extreme misogyny, which is something that I brought up some articles like talking about that weird dichotomy, and I didn't read them, but isn't that kind of interesting though? Like you have a queen, but God, you hate women.
No,
Maybe
that's also not unusual in British history.
Yeah, I know. It's just strange.
It was the same with Elizabeth.
Is she like outside of
they're beyond
women?
That. Yeah, they are not. They are the royalty. They don't count, basically.
Yeah.
It's hypocritical, but what about monarchies and such are not hypocritical, right? I mean, come on.
So this book just completely sends up Victorian England and all of these absolute crazy cultural aspects, like particularly, I should say, the aristocracy. Not everyone was in the aristocracy during Victorian times, but this
as we see with the maids and such, and the butlers.
Yes, this book is focusing on an aristocratic family in a big ol' estate, the Ensor House, and they have all the shortcomings of Victorian England that we know and love, being better than everyone, being snooty, eating disgusting meals, and being total hypocrites about morality. And
I believe, based on some of the details that I picked up in this book, that they're very old. I mean, obviously they're established and rich because they're part of the aristocracy. But at one point, our main character, Notty, goes into the armory. I think they use a different word, but she sees like old suits of armor and stuff. So
I think they called it the armory still.
They did? Okay.
I think.
So I was like, oh man, like these guys are an established family if they've got that kind of stuff. That was just a cool detail.
Oh, like they've been part of the aristocracy for
well, if you had to
generations.
It wasn't like anyone could be a knight. You had to be again of the upper echelons because it was expensive to maintain your horses. It was expensive to maintain your suits of armor. You had to have like a trove of people taking care of your horses and helping you literally dress for battle. It was the most ridiculous British, well, not British, it was very European, but you know, that snooty, ridiculous, imagine the once they finally get guns, they're marching in like these lines at each other, you know, like what, who does that? Like that is so European. It's weird.
In this novel, there is only one person who truly goes to battle, and that is the governess. One of the things that I like about this book right away is that I think even in the first chapter, it starts, I think, 3 months before Christmas. So
exactly,
we read this at the wrong time of year. Sorry, guys.
I know.
But it's not really a Christmas book. I still wouldn't call it a Christmas book, even though they mention Christmas. It doesn't take place strongly enough.
I think the book ends on Christmas Day.
Yeah, but didn't like feel Christmassy.
No, it doesn't.
But what's cool is I think at the end of the first chapter, she's like, within 3 months, everyone in this house will be dead. So it's one of those great stories where you know it's going to turn out horribly. Besides knowing it's going to turn out horribly because it's a horror book, you literally know because you're told that. And that makes it fun because it means you just get to buckle up for the ride instead of wondering, like, is everyone going to die? Yes, they are. Just hold on. Yeah,
and that explicit, I'm telling you what it is, happens in my favorite book. So I'm always partial to being told.
But wasn't that subtly done?
It is subtle, yes, for sure. But it's still, if you are looking for it and you know.
What's your favorite book for the audience?
We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson.
And we might do that in season 4. Is that what you said?
I think so, yeah, because I think one of our publishing dates would land on my birthday.
Yeah, so don't accuse us of not doing long-term planning because we got one of the books for 2028.
Yeah, we'll see if I can hold out that long.
I know.
But yes, I do love when you're given especially shocking information like that, right? Like, oh shit, okay, well, no surprise there, but this book is still full of surprises. So
yeah, it's very tongue-in-cheek.
So well
just by looking at the names, we have the governess Winifred Notty, which she occasionally goes by Notty. She occasionally says, "Call me Fred" to the kids just to mess with them. Yeah. We also have Mr. and Mrs. Pounds. We have Sue Lamb, the pretty housemaid. Mrs. Abel, the housekeeper. Some of the aristocratic guests are Mr. and Mrs. Fancy. And
the painter is Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Johnson. Wait, why is that funny with painting?
A John, like a penis.
Oh, because he's creepy with Drusilla, with the daughter. Yeah. And Mrs. and Miss Manners. So
right? Can't you call? Is that? Am I?
Yeah, you're right. I thought you were saying like Johnson, get it because he's a painter, but
no.
He's just a creep, and his name reflects that.
And then Naughty's favorite of the people who show up in this house is, she calls her at least Marigold, and her husband is Mr. Artificial, which is just great.
Oh, Artificial.
So at the very beginning...
I just got that one. I'm slow.
Yeah, at the very beginning, there are 2 instances, I believe it's 2, where Naughty directly breaks the 4th wall. And she even says at one point, like, I wink at you, dear reader. So we know very clearly that since this is written from her perspective, it's really fun because I'm convinced that she just made up these names. Like, you know, she's just like,
oh, I could totally see
having fun with making fun of everyone and making up these names, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Manners. Like, come on.
Because she wouldn't even care what their real names are. That's not even her
she's
preference.
Like, I'm going to kill you anyway, right? Who gives a shit?
Her name probably isn't even Winifred Notty.
No. Come on, Miss Notty. Come on.
I read that as the author having fun, which is obviously also true, but that is an interesting point. I could see the narrator just like throwing names out. I was wondering that her 2 charges, the children that she is watching over, are Andrew and Drusilla. I was really getting some alarm bells when I read Drusilla, since we just watched Caligula, who famously was sleeping with his sister Drusilla. And I was hoping it wouldn't go there, and it didn't, but she's still a great character.
She might be just as crazy, though. I don't know, but not in that creepy way.
I feel like we should start.
Anyway.
I feel like you should give, you got some quotes up here. Is there anything
I have tons of quotes.
I got one too.
I read this one on Kindle, so I actually have a bajillion quotes.
You want to give us a little taste of the prose here? Because that's part of what makes this so fun, is just the like sarcastic wit of it.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I'm just picking a random quote that I have here. I picture my own soul escaping my body, oozing from between my legs in a clotted, barely colored sludge. It leaves a viscous stain on the carpet before slithering about the room to examine the porcelain with the hand-painted boar crest, the ox painting, the sweaty-faced footman who stares straight ahead as if blind. Then it slides upward along the wall and presses a featureless face against the window overlooking the copper beech hedges. There's one for you.
What did you like about that?
It's just disgusting and also like... Well, it's an abortion, it sounds like, right? Like a ooze coming out of her body in a clotted sludge.
Yeah, she talks about this darkness being sludgy and oozy, and it reminds me of, I don't know,
so
like
I don't
tainted
necessarily
soul.
I don't necessarily mean a literal abortion, but yes, it gets to clarify she has this evil in her, she says. And so I could see that being what comes out. It could also signify her virginity, for instance, right? The footman standing there sweating, trying not to pay attention. So maybe something inappropriate's happening. Maybe, maybe she's just giving birth and it's a man in the room and he's incredibly uncomfortable. Like, there's some options there.
Can I give a quote too? Can I quote battle you?
No, never. Yes.
Too bad. Here's one.
Yeah.
I re-enter the room through the kitchen where the cook confronts me with a dramatically bloodied nightdress she has found stuffed behind the boiler door. Mrs. Abel says, "Thou didn't give us a nightdress to wash this week," she says, "so this one must be thine." "Yes," I say, taking the nightdress heavy and crusted in my hands. "Thank you." The cook looks at me, surprised at my accepting the soiled item so readily, but the blood, natural occurrence, a woman's ailment. But it is all over the neckline. "Yes," I say brightly, as if that settles it. "Miss Notty," the cook begins, her face setting into alarm, "I feign a fainting spell. I find fainting spells the most rewarding of performances."
I think Jane Austen would agree. Yeah, I thought that was great. I also love how the cook speaks in like almost a like medieval lilt.
Yeah, this is great. This is after she has like brutally murdered somebody and tossed her bloody nightdress behind the boiler, and in a way that it's easily found, and it's just like, oh yeah, that's mine. It's just a woman thing. Let's continue.
She also just says some really fun stuff to the kids. She's in charge of these two children's education. And at one point she talks about how she teaches them history, arithmetic, and what corpses smell like, and French. And just those little subtle things thrown in as if it's just completely normal to teach small children about what a corpse smells like. And how do you do that? How do you teach someone what a corpse smells like without having a corpse? So is she showing them a corpse? Is she, like just these kinds of things.
She does like bash the brains of a doe when she's out on a walk with the kids.
Yeah, I quoted that actually.
Because the doe is like, I think it's injured, right? But not mortally so.
Yeah. Do you want me to quote it?
Sure, go for it.
"I smash the rock upon the doe's head. I bring the rock down over and over again, my arms burning with fatigue, until the creature's eyes are red, until they are no longer distinguishable from its snout, until the muscles in my shoulders scream, and the children stare, mouths agape. Blood peppered on Andrew's breeches, flecks of it on Drusilla's rapidly blinking face. When you come across an animal in pain, the merciful thing to do is to kill it," I say, setting the rock down with a gentleness reserved for fine china. And the kids are like, I think it's not. I think it's okay. She's like, nope, it's in pain. Kill it. Yeah, and just the nonchalant and normalized way that she deals with all these otherwise horrific things is just great. And then on top of it, with it being the aristocracy, the way that they are trained to not care too much, not care too little. They're so like mid with everything that they don't necessarily react to things because they're expected to act a certain way, but they also expect others to act that exact same way. So when someone does something out of the ordinary, especially when they act, quote unquote, like they do, they won't catch these things. So it feels like a double whammy as a reader to be rewarded with these little details that you're like, wait, what? And there are more subtle things too that she throws in there, but then also to have the lack of reaction from other characters just adds so much to Notty's what comes out to be like a sarcastic and mocking tone that she clearly gives to these high society people.
I would say that Notty in a lot of ways is kind of a stand-in for them, like a modern audience. She feels like she's a very modern character. The way her sarcasm works feels like it's somebody from
So are you calling us all psychos?
Yes.
At least for Victorian standards?
More like our level of sarcasm. We're not actually following through with the things we joke about, but I feel like the way she's joking about the people she's with and her style of sarcasm is very modern, grafted on top of this Victorian English setting is what I'm trying to say.
I think part of that too comes from her character's inability to feel like pain and emotion. I think it comes across as she says she can't feel pain, but she's constantly like, okay, now I'm plastering a smile on my face. Or there's one instance where she's called out for mocking the person for smiling, and then she's like, oh shit, I forgot to turn my smile off, and now I'm supposed to be sad, right? So she's play acting too, which fits with American Psycho because it's the same kind of thing, right? Like he's, at least in the film, I can't say it for the book, but he puts on these emotions. And I think that insincerity also can come across as like a sarcasm that isn't necessarily actually sarcastic. And I did read somewhere too that this book is a retelling of American Psycho. I don't know if that's true.
I don't know, man. American Psycho is a big ass thick book.
Well,
and this
like
is very
Carmela,
much Victorian England.
Yeah, well, taking the idea of the psycho and putting it in this setting, I don't think not like an actual retail. I don't know. I just
we'll
read
have to revisit that.
I read that in one place, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess. So
that was kind of like in You Weren't Meant to Be Human. The inside jacket was like Alien meets Midsummer. I was like, I could see the Alien, but Midsummer is a stretch, man. So maybe that's just a publisher just wanting to say American Psycho because it's popular. Or maybe we'll read that and be like, damn, this is a lot like Victorian Psycho.
Well, and at least from the film, again, Notty does reflect the same kind of character traits as Patrick Bateman does in American Psycho.
Oh, in terms of just being like a unfeeling sociopath?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, totally.
So in that sense, I could see where they're taking that same character. And if that is true, then that definitely plays into your thought about taking the modern and putting a Victorian skin on it.
Interesting. Yeah, this is great because we get Notty going in and she's supposed to take care of these kids. And, Andrew is the heir to this prestigious aristocratic family, and he's just a total shit. He has like no interest in anything except trying to be like a little lord over everything. And Notty knows that he's a piece of shit and pretty much tells him to his face. But then there's the whole performance, right? Talking to Mr. and Mrs. Pounds of like, oh, you will teach our children to be proper, respectful heirs to the family name. And she's supposed to teach Andrew fencing, investment portfolios, I don't know, like 5 or 6 different topics that she's supposed to drill into him. And then they're like, and for Drusilla, just teach her French and piano because, at this time in the Victorian area, you did not want to burden a woman's mind with too much thinking, right?
Yeah.
The only thing they should be thinking about is who they're going to wed.
Yeah. Can they do their wifely duties, which includes like needlepoint. And then I think they even say in here too that Andrew is slotted to go into a boarding school after the holiday break or in the next school year or something like that. So, and then speaking of teaching their education, at one point, Mrs. Pound yells at her and she's like, "You're the worst governess we've ever had." And then Notty yells back. She says, "That's not true. I taught them the French Revolution. It took me 17 days. Your children are idiots."
Yeah,
I just thought that was hilarious.
And they have their meals at an absurdly long table in a dining hall, so that like, I feel like we've probably all seen this in some kind of movie scene.
I want to say like in a Dracula film where they sit like super far away from each other.
Yeah, and they're trying to have a conversation, but they have to like yell at each other.
And then of course there's like a big plant in the middle so they can't even see each other, that kind of vibe.
This is all leading up toward Christmas. I think we get like three months from Christmas, and then a few weeks from Christmas, and then Christmas.
But can we talk about before the guests come at Christmas? One of them comes and visits beforehand with her baby. Original baby.
Oh, God. Original baby. Take it away.
So at one point, a friend of Mrs. Pound, and I can't remember which friend it is, Mrs. Fancy maybe, she comes with her newborn baby. And at one point, they ask Notty to take him up to the nursery. And Notty gets frustrated with it and slits its throat. Oopsies. Now what? So she leaves. She just leaves the room and goes and just runs. She finds a farm where there's a baby laying outside and picks this baby up, steals it, runs back and switches out the babies and calls it other baby. So now there's original baby and other baby. And as she's giving it back to the mom, she sees a mold, just scratches it off. And the mom, of course, doesn't notice because Victorian aristocracy don't actually take care of their kids.
Yeah, they want their kids to shut up.
Hi, child. They pat it on the head and they're like, okay, go raise my child now. So
hey, wait, that's kind of what you do. Sometimes.
Yeah, on a good day. No, not really. Oh, that's what school's for, right?
And it's great because then that character comes back with other baby for Christmas, and Notty has some line about it's starting to develop some features that are going to make the parents wonder.
Yeah, looks nothing like them. And of course, the wife will get in trouble. So anyway, going back to everyone's coming for Christmas now.
So yeah, this is all leading up to people coming for Christmas, and that's when it gets really fun because through the start of I don't know, is it halfway through the book people start showing up? Maybe it doesn't really matter.
It's about
something like that.
They are to stay a fortnight, and that includes Christmas, and that's, I think, about halfway through the book.
Okay. Yeah, the book is just under 200 pages. This is a pretty quick read. But yeah, it's great when the guests start showing up. I feel like that's when the author really starts to play with the different personalities and the different names, and we have growing conflict between the Poundses and Notty. Mr. Pounds pretty much just flagrantly is sexually aroused by Winifred. And
part of it too is because he's really into phrenology, which is the study of people's head sizes, which was an actual pseudoscience back in the day, and was a lot of the reasoning at the time for racism, right? So if you white people had bigger heads, and that's actually where the terms Caucasian come from. So technically Caucasian is a racist term. Then again, most terms about race are. Yeah, it's just an interesting side point. So he's all happy with her because she has a nice head.
I'm just waiting for phrenology to start coming back into the lexicon from our government.
I bet it has already.
Yeah. There's this thing.
We're not teaching evolution. We're teaching phrenology.
Oh no. We can't escape the aristocracy.
Oh my God.
All right, this isn't a political podcast.
No, it's not. Unless we're talking about Victorian England.
We meet the Poundses and the kids and Notty, and we get established. Our narrator is just completely nuts. And so when you start bringing in more people and you know ahead of time that they're all going to be dead by Christmas, it just ratchets up the reader's glee of what's possibly going to happen. And
we also get some flashbacks where she talks about her mom and her childhood and such. And so she was always a troublesome child. Also, her mom talked to her a lot about trying to kill her and stuff. So it's not like she was raised in a healthy environment.
Yeah, and she also went to a girls' boarding school and ended up leaving.
Right. She was given laudanum, right? Constantly, which is
what is that?
It's like a liquid drug. I think it was made from opium or something, but it was a drug that they used to give as like a medicine, like a cough medicine and stuff. Covers everything, makes you feel good. And so this woman who's supposed to be taking care of a bunch of children would just keep them high all day long.
Because it also made them complacent, right?
Yeah. And then
smart woman.
And then if the parents didn't pay fast enough or stopped paying, she would just murder the children. It was So, it's a little bit of a history there.
She grew up with good role models for being in a book called Victorian Psycho.
Yeah, it is. So I just looked it up. Laudanum is a opium, basically, dissolved in alcohol. So it was supposed to help with pain, coughs, and diarrhea. Now it's a Schedule II substance. So sorry, no laudanum for you.
Hey, I got a poem from Punch Magazine, which is a magazine that Mr. Pounds subscribes to, and it is both misogynist and racist against the Irish. You want to hear it?
Of course.
This is right up in our setting. This is from 1884, which this book could be taking place in. It doesn't specify.
And just to be clear, this is a real magazine with a real poem, right? This is not out of the book.
Yeah, this is actually, I found this cool Victorian website. I'll try to remember to link it in the show notes, where it's pretty much an encyclopedia. And I went down to women.
Racism?
No, it was like women in in the Victorian era, and it takes snippets from magazine articles and newspaper articles talking about those different topics. So this is from Punch Magazine, which is specifically called out in being in Mr. Pounds' room or in his office or whatever. And here's the great crunchy stanza. The woman of the future may be very learned looking, but dare we ask if she'll know aught of housekeeping or cooking? She'll read far more, and that as well, than empty-headed beauties. But has she studied with it all a woman's chiefest duties? For she will never acknowledge, till her heated brain grows cooler, that woman, not the Irish man, should be the true home ruler.
Oh, Jesus.
Isn't that great?
Wow.
So the dish to the Irish there is, of course, then they were
home rule. Yeah,
they wanted home rule away from England. So that's just a great twisty punch there.
And this is pretty close. Like 20, 30 years before the Irish started rebelling and declared independence. So
I mean, they were already rebelling, but yes, this is. I
mean, rebelling into gaining their independence. Yeah. I mean, they never go Ireland. They never gave in or whatever.
Yeah.
But and I don't know, actually. Like I said, I don't know much about Victorian times. When we say Victorian era, is that specifically England?
I think so. I think it's specifically
that makes sense
England
because of
under Queen Victoria.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because I don't know if that would reference America too, but I don't think so.
No,
we just call it the turn of the century. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. For us, that was just Industrial Revolution times, the Gilded Era. Was it the Gilded Era? Gilded Age for us? Thereabouts?
Yeah. About the Gilded Age, towards the end of it. And then after that, we have the Progressive Era. We're so progressive, leading up into World War I. So progressive. Oh, through World War I. How is it Never mind. We're not getting into it. War. So progressive. So throughout all of this, right, even before the guests show up, but also while they're there, Notty is just murdering people randomly sometimes. And it's even...
almost accidentally?
Oops. Yeah. And sometimes it's
brought up as an afterthought, like, oh yeah, I killed that guy. But like right the week or so before everyone, as in the guests, show up, Notty kills one of the hall boys or something is what he's called. He's just like one of the people who stands in the hallway, I guess, in case someone needs something.
Lower class NPC.
Yeah, exactly. But she kills him and like just drags him away. And they all, oh no, that's actually when the guests were there, right? Because they all hear it and then they start talking about ghost stories and stuff. And it's just so ridiculous because they don't notice this guy's missing. She's dragging people outside, leaving trails of blood, the dog's licking it up, and like that's good enough, you know, and they're just probably cleaning up like, oh no, just another mess. And just the complete oblivion that these people live in, right? They're completely oblivious to their surroundings. It's just like, as long as whatever I need to happen happens, none of the people under me matter.
And it's great too, right? Because like what you were saying is there's such a focus on not being too extreme or emotional, right? Like you have to live in the middle so that you can't upset anyone's expectations, which is a great environment for a mass murderer because,
Yes.
there aren't going to be people like, oh, let's go check out that strange sound, because then you're like highlighting yourself. And
well, it becomes a game, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's a ghost. Let's tell ghost stories. Or I think at one point, all the women want to go out for a walk on the moors while it's raining to catch like a cold just bad enough to create some drama, but not actually deathly ill. Like just these weird things that these people do that they think is normal, which is absolutely not.
I want to read a book. I mean, do I? But I think it'd be interesting to talk to somebody. I don't know.
You tell me.
What I'm trying to say is, thinking of myself as someone with ADHD, if I had to grow up in aristocratic Victorian times and sit through hours-long multiple course dinners and then follow that up with hours-long conversations,
But
I would.
only with other men while you're drinking and smoking
That
cigars.
sounds horrible.
Okay, I'm just pointing out that it's not like you to talk to women, because that would be horrible.
God, talking to the men sounds awful too.
Yeah, but you can talk business and
And hunting and
horses and-
stuff. Oh God, it sounds just miserable. Anyway, that's all. It's not for me.
So wait, what was the book you want to read?
About
Like
people with ADHD in Victorian era times
I
who had to
see.
sit through multiple course hours long dinner parties, and how much that drove them insane.
Well, in a sense, kind of just did, but
I guess
she's
that-
already been driven insane. So one of the sort of side plots is Notty seems abnormally interested in Mr. Pounds.
Also licking things.
Yeah, okay. There's that too. Yeah.
Go on.
No. Yes. And I don't think she licks him, but I'm actually not sure. And he takes it as like he's sexually interested in her and like shows her dirty magazines with like a woman slowly lifting up her skirt with each image. And then she thinks at one point, like, okay, I think at this point I should react positively, right? Like she's, again, playing the part that she is told she is supposed to, right? By society standards and such, which I think is such a good play into the lack of awareness and such that these elite people have, for her to also have that lack of ability, but more of like a mental barrier as opposed to like a practiced nonchalance. Anyway, so she's interested in Mr. Pounds, and he takes it as she's interested in him, and she'll play into it just to get him to like her, right? So she doesn't have the ability really to properly regulate her emotions and just plays into what she thinks she's supposed to do, which is really funny because then she also has this side of her that definitely gives like a fuck you vibe, right? I'll do what I want. I don't care, right? And Mrs. Pounds reacts to that, but also doesn't. Like at one point, Notty kills someone and unexpectedly she just like gets frustrated and is like, fuck you, and like stabs them in the neck. They're bleeding. They fall on the ground and she's like, oh shit, and just like drags them behind a table. And Mrs. Pounds walks in and like admonishes her for not properly teaching Drusilla. And she's like standing there, like tripping over the feet of this dead person. And Mrs. Pounds is like completely oblivious. There's blood on her. She wipes her bloody hands on Mrs. Pound at one point when she's not looking. And it's just, the scenes in this are just so ridiculous. It just made me laugh a lot. I was constantly laughing.
Yeah, it's very fun, including when Mrs. Pounds finally snaps at Notty and sends her into the doghouse after she finds out, oh my God, how could it be the dog was allowed to sleep in the bed with Andrew? So she's like, if you're going to let the dog sleep with my son, you can go sleep with the dog, and sends her out to do that. And it doesn't seem to like bother her too much.
She like has no emotion about it. She just comes out, comments on her soggy boots or whatever, and then turns and plasters a smile on her face when she sees Mrs. Pounds looking at her through the window and just waves at her, you know? And it's just so, and that's it. That's all she feels. Yeah, she's something else. She's quite the character. I really enjoyed her.
So then we get to Christmas. We have all the guests in the house, and then it turns straight up into Red Wedding, yeah?
Pretty much.
Except Red Christmas, I suppose.
She starts out with killing a lot of the staff, and she found like some kind of hidden doorway that led into like a chimney or like an old stairwell. I forgot what they're called, like a little side tower thing. She implicates that she's been collecting bodies there, one of which is not completely dead. So she's been killing people, but none of the people who quote unquote matter. So it's been unnoticed. So she's been building up and killing pretty much everyone. And then, at one point she just snaps. And the reasoning is a bit of a spoiler. So we get the ending to the book.
Yeah, sometimes on this podcast, we go straight into talking about the ending twist because it's really important to discussing the novel. With this one, I think we could keep the twist secret and just say there's more than meets the eye as to why Notty is at this estate in the first place.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. But I think we'll save that one for you guys to discover on your own.
Yeah, because it's a quick read and it's worth reading, I think. I enjoyed it. I actually technically read it twice. I read it physically and I also listened to it because I wasn't sure if I was going to have time to read it. And I wanted to make sure that if I didn't, that I didn't just stop reading it and start listening to it. So I was reading it and then I would listen to it in bed because I was like, if I fall asleep, it's not a big deal because I've already read it. But then I'm like caught up with myself. And I finished it twice. So
and they're supposedly making a movie out of it. So you'll be able to watch it soon too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can definitely see this. That would work out well.
Interesting. Yeah, I hope they follow it.
I could totally see.
I hope they get Mia Goth.
Yeah, I was just going to say Mia Goth.
Notty.
I'm just imagining her smile at the end of Pearl would just be like absolutely perfect.
Yeah, her ability to smile in an uncanny way
with like dead eyes
would be absolutely brilliant for this. And we get some really fun kills. One involves a chandelier and not how you think.
I was surprised by that.
That was hilarious.
We get some letter opener kills, which I feel like are good classic slasher kills.
And as you know, she makes her way into the armory. She finds a pretty good weapon there too. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we should leave the kills alone because part of what I found really fun about this book was the suddenness and the offhanded way that she just kills people and when and who, and I feel like that would take away the
that's a lot of the fun of it, especially because she's upfront right away about like everyone in here is going to die, so that's going to happen, so that makes the fun of it.
Yeah, if you're worried about that as a spoiler, that was like the first line in the book, so sorry.
And then we get a little deeper reasoning for why she's truly there, and we'll also leave that up for surprise. I forgot, did you mention at the top why you picked this book? I remember you...
No, I didn't.
Okay.
And I didn't really have a specific reason.
Was it because we worked backwards from Psycho or American Psycho?
Sort of, not really. I bought this book last year. I feel like I want to say I bought it for a book club, and then I either just didn't have time for that. That might have been when I was traveling over the summer. But I had bought this book with the intention of reading it last year. Didn't get around to it, and it's kind of been sitting there mocking me on the shelf.
With those dead doll eyes?
Yeah, and now that I know about Notty, I'm like, yeah, she probably was mocking me. But it had been one that I'd been really wanting to read. And then when I think you wanted to read the original Psycho, and then when we came up with the idea of the month of Rawson, I was like, oh, we could read both our Psycho books. And then I think Janice brought up American Psycho. She's like, oh, you're reading American Psycho. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think of that book. So then I adjusted our schedule so that we have our little April Fools here and have the 3 Psychos. So I don't have a very specific reason other than I had already purchased it and I kept hearing good things.
Cool.
On all the unhinged horror book lists, not all of them, but some of them, this book kept coming up in, how you get those lists of like female author or unhinged women or, blah, blah, blah. This one kept coming up in
both
lists
of those.
that looked, that's why, it kept coming up. So it was one I was just really interested in. And I'm really glad we read it.
You have the start of a quote here that's great. At 8:30 sharp, breakfast is removed, as is my will to live.
Well, and she's made fun of on a number of occasions for her weight because she is not of the proper Victorian size. And at Christmas, Mrs. Pound rubs that in by giving her a dress to wear that doesn't fit her properly. And of course, being not one of the ladies and being given the dress the night before, she couldn't have it fit, so it just didn't fit her right. And they make fun of her. I think at one point, well, that's a bit of a spoiler. One bit of a spoiler kill. At one point, she says, I always loved the dining room, and the person she's talking to is like, you would, and then she kills him. She's like, yeah, kill him. Like, that's rude, asshole. And I wonder, you bringing up Queen Victoria, I wonder if that's a jibe at making fun of the Queen.
I wanted to bring something else about this book, at least like the prose and the sarcasm and wit and the overt sexuality and all that kind of stuff. Just really reminded me of Mayfly by C.J. Lead, which we covered in October. Check out that episode. That was a really fun book to read. But this very much gave me a lot of C.J. Lead, Mayfly vibes. Did you feel the same way?
Yes, but in a very different way. I definitely see what you're talking about. But I feel like their psychosis is like different levels. Whereas I didn't feel like Mayfly had to force herself to like flip switches is kind of how I imagined it with Notty. Like, okay, flip on the smile, flip on the sadness, I didn't get that so much with Mayfly, but the absolute batshit crazy, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Mayfly seemed a little more intentional, like, I'm a weird, fucked up person, and these are the things that I enjoy, where this character is just completely devoid of any kind of normal emotions.
Any emotions, period, I think.
Yeah, but the voice, the sarcasm, and like the way that men and hypocritical people are discussed and lambasted, there were a lot of similarities in the voice for the authors and the narrators.
Yeah, and I think too the difference, I think that for me, Maeve was doing things with intention, whereas I feel like Notty just doesn't.
I killed someone.
Yeah, like she also just doesn't understand humans in a different way. Like, here's another quote that I written down. I'm confused at first, believing she is sniffing deeply into her handkerchief or strangling herself with it before I realize she is weeping. So like a normal person, let's say, would probably pick up on the fact right away that this person has this handkerchief up to their face and is clearly crying, and Notty doesn't even register that. And I don't think Maeve would have that same issue.
Yeah, she might make fun of him or not care, but yeah, Notty cannot read the expression accurately.
Yeah, because Maeve figures out when her friend clicks what's, that Maeve, that there's like something seriously wrong with Maeve. And she's like, gets a, oh shit, And I don't think Notty has that ability to have an oh shit moment. There is no oh shit with Notty. It's just, wee.
I think as the reader, it's more like oh shit, because the way she describes it, it feels like that, like, oh, I killed him. But she doesn't seem to say that with any kind of regret or oops. It's just like, and then I killed them.
Well, and I kept worrying about her getting in trouble or getting caught or whatever, and it just never happened. There's no anxiety from her, but she creates so much anxiety for the reader. Like, I was anxious a lot of the time and laughing. And I'm like, oh, this is what being psychotic feels like.
I had a little bit of trouble with some of the believability, but I think it works good thematically, because when you look at this aristocratic culture, the obscene way they lived and got away with it matches up with the way that she's going around murdering all these people and getting away with it. But there were a few times where she was like, I had to drag bodies up to the attic, or but I like carried bodies up into a tree, and you're like, really you did?
Well, she's also a very unreliable narrator.
Yeah, true. And it's like a small thing, but there are a couple of times where I'm like, the logistics of that are a little far-fetched.
Of course, yeah.
But you could probably say that about most slashers.
I don't think there's much room for like suspension of belief, right? Like this is very unbelievable, the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give a shit because she doesn't give a shit. She's just like, this is my story. Here you go. Do with it as you please.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So overall, what did you think? I mean, we've kind of covered that, but it's always fun to...
I enjoyed this. I felt like this was a good, I want to say palate cleanser, but the last book we read was The Watchers, which I really enjoyed, but it was a very slow burn, melancholy.
People sitting in a room.
Yeah. People sitting in a room. And I really enjoyed it. But this was just nuts.
A slaughter fest.
An absolute slaughter fest.
The beginning of the month of Psycho. It works well.
And it's short. I wrote down here, it's like a fun Christmas murder beach read. And
nice.
I think that pretty much sums it up. I think I'd stick with that, which I enjoyed and was fun. If I'm looking at it through my pretentious lens, it was a little too lightweight for me. Sometimes it was a little too like wink and nod. I killed people and like there's a lot of details missing. But I think that's also part of her as a character, right? She's not interested in telling us like, here's how I did these things. It's more just like little snippets of I did something crazy and here's what it is, which is a lot of fun. But occasionally I felt like there was too much crazy stuff going on with too little explanation. But that's just my pretentious lens. Like just having a normal fun read, I enjoyed it. And I think if you want to just like read something fun and slashery, this is a good pick for that.
Yeah. Well, you're allowed to be pretentious. If you aren't, then no one is. So I kid. But yeah, and that's totally fair because
it also had, I know I've been
fun book.
Given this a hard time, but it is present tense, first person. It's that modern present tense thing again. And I'm just like, we're reading a lot of those.
Especially with a Victorian set book. Yeah. I think it would have made sense to be third person, but then also it would have been hard for Notty to be our narrator, right?
I think it's supposed to read very much modern on a Victorian setting. Like I would imagine the intention was doing that present tense voice because it has that modern immediacy to it, which works with this narrator.
But she also breaks the fourth wall and talks directly to the reader. So in a sense too, she's telling the story, which you can't do with third person.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I had fun with this one. How about you?
Yeah.
Did I already say the how about you part?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
I thought it was fun. I love a good horror book that is really gory and makes me laugh. I love that combination because it's such a juxtaposition. And it's also not, I don't know, but we've read a fair number of serious books in a row. And so it's fun to break up the seriousness.
A nice palate cleanser of an orgy of murder is a palate cleanser.
Yeah, it's just like beyond ridiculous and such
which is
a good
gleeful
way.
In its murder.
Yeah, and I like that. That's right up my alley. I like a good mix of literary and just, I don't want to call it silliness, but you know, a book that doesn't take itself too seriously. But it also does, right? The themes are very serious, especially when you start analyzing them and like what these things are saying about women and society and those kinds of things. But it also just knows how to have fun. And I think it balanced that really well, even though I think it also leaned much more towards the let's just have fun and slash. And I liked it. So
hey, I'm reading slasher books now. You told me I needed to do that.
Yeah.
I've read a few now.
And?
What do I think?
Yeah. You kind of I feel like you've given the same-ish opinion. Like they're fun, but they're not very literary. And it's like, well, it's a slasher.
Yeah, I still feel, it's still in a fun category for me, which isn't a bad place to be.
Yeah.
But one of these days I want to read a slasher that's like, ooh, I like know these characters and I care about them. I haven't gotten to that part yet.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll keep looking.
Not to say I didn't care about Notty. I was very entertained by her, but she's, not a character that I'm going to be thinking of and like trying to unravel her many layers or anything. She's just a psycho.
Yeah, but you're also not seeing like Friday the 13th win an Oscar for best film, right? But
Wouldn't that be
speaking
crazy?
of, Sinners won, right?
Yeah, I think Sinners won like several awards.
I don't know if it won best film, but we got Michael B. Jordan as best actor, and then I think they also got best music and costume.
I'm just looking. Yeah, I got best picture. It got a
did
bunch
get best
of
picture.
stuff.
I thought so. Yeah.
Best original screenplay, best picture, best actor,
Yeah,
visual
horror
effects.
did really well this year at the Oscars. I don't really give a shit about the Oscars. Half the time, I don't even know when the Oscars are until it's like after the fact, and I'm not big on films. Dan always knows when things come out, and I'm like, what? I'm like that with the books, so we pair well together. But yeah, I was really excited to see that because I loved that movie. And then Frankenstein, I think, won. Like,
Did it?
Yeah, it won body paint. What's that called?
Oh, body paint. Well, there's costume.
Best makeup.
Best makeup and hairstyling.
And
Okay.
costume, yeah, that makes sense. The costume for sure.
Wait, this is saying it also won Best Picture, but you can't have two films win Best Picture, so I don't know.
Maybe those are the nominations.
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure Sinners won.
Well,
Anyway,
yeah,
it happened like a week ago.
This isn't a film podcast,
Yeah.
but I was happy to see that. And I think another horror movie won something else too. I think there were at least 3 horror films that
Oh, really? Crazy.
won Academy Awards.
Well,
this
look
year,
at that. It's so popular.
It's the year of horror. I can't imagine why, because life is so mundane and not horrific at all. And we don't need escapism. What are you talking
America's
about?
doing just fine.
Oh, God,
Help
save
us.
us. Help us. Anyone outside of the United States, please help us. So 1 psycho down, 2 to go.
Yeah, I'm still.
I want to have a discussion at the end
Yes.
about all 3 of our psychos.
It's interesting because I feel like the way we're going is Victorian Psycho, light and fun, Psycho, a little more serious and, like seminal storytelling. And then I think American Psycho is just going to be really a lot.
Well, you're basing these off of the films too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But probably. I
And
mean,
like the look of
mid-century
American Psycho the book. But I think it's going to get increasingly like more difficult to read. Increasingly heavier.
Yeah.
In subject matter and in the books.
In density.
In
for
density,
sure.
yeah. So, I'll be curious when we're done with all 3. I'll feel like, I wonder if I'll want to go back to Victorian Psycho and have another palate cleanser.
Well, yeah, right. We'll have Winifred Notty. We'll have Norman Bates and Patrick Bateman. And that is such a frustrating combo. Bates and Bateman. I don't know if that was done on purpose.
It must have been.
It like helps me remember them, but it also throws me off. But luckily I'm like, okay, the Bates Motel.
I am curious though about American Psycho. I haven't seen the movie in years.
It's so good.
But another thing I notice, like with some modern horror that we've been reading, like for example, she's horrible, right? But she's doing horrible things to an aristocratic family, so she's kind of the good guy. And it was kind of similar.
I'll say.
And Mayfly, a lot of the people, like she was doxing this woman who was like right wing and anti-immigrant, and
that bitch manager at Disneyland.
Yeah, so we have these like one of a modern horror trope that I definitely see that I think says a lot about our psychology in this age of needing heroes even when they're murderers, is as long as they're killing people who we see as bad people, then they can be an anti-hero, right?
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Same with Candy Cane Kills too.
Yeah, and that's cool, but it's a little boring. I'm interested to...
But that's not always true,
No,
right?
it's not.
Because
I'm generalizing. But I think it's a safety thing for sure. I think it's playing it safe, and it's like...
Yeah, I can see that. But that wasn't really the case with the Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre, right? That wasn't like a safe murderer. So it's not always the case, but yeah, I can see that.
I feel like we like watching bad people
Tastes Like
do things
Candy
to worse
wasn't
people.
either. The Reformatory was, yeah. Yeehaw Junction, that was just batshit crazy. That was
Yeah.
batshit crazy like this book was.
Yeah.
I'd say Mayfly, Yeehaw Junction, and Victorian Psycho are the most batshit crazy books we've read so far this year.
I would say Yeehaw Junction is in a category of its own.
Yeah, okay.
That is truly
But they
batshit
are
crazy.
also like in a category together
Yeah.
of batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that book was something else. So speaking of all the books that we've read for this season. I mean, give or take. What have you been reading outside of the podcast?
Yeah, so a couple interesting things. I've talked about the medieval book I was reading the last couple of episodes. I'm not even going to mention that anymore. I thought
you were going to be done with it by now.
I thought so too. I am still working through it, and I am going to finish it, but it's just one of the things that's going to be like kind of a slow tread when I have time, and I'm okay with that. I did almost finish this book I picked up from the library called, this is an exciting one, Manage Your Day to Day, Build Your Routine, Find Your Focus, and Sharpen Your Creative Mind.
Does that involve doing chores?
Yeah, chores for advancing my creative goals. It's a pretty short book, but it's different people across different creative fields talking about like avoiding distractions, how to get more creative work done, and all this kind of stuff. So I've been writing down, like trying to schedule my day a little bit more, because I kind of slid a little too much into not just Space Marine. Like I was playing a lot of Space Marine, but the thing is, like, we have such little free time that it's easy to take something for yourself and then find out that you've fallen behind on things.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But it's also important to balance, right? Like if you're always pushing, then you're going to burn out.
Yeah, true. But one of the things I did, so that's like the only book I've really been reading since the last podcast, and I'm almost finished with it. But one of the things I did this morning is I went through, I don't know, 8 books or so that I'm interested in reading between the first and second draft of the novel I'm working on right now. So that's given me, I think I might stop reading like whole books, and I need to start thinking more of like, read a chapter or 2 of this book that applies to what I need, and a chapter 2 of this book. I think I need to like focus in on my research, because if I have 8 books and I'm like, I'm going to read all these for research, it's not going to happen.
Well, that's like writing a research paper in college, right? You look at the index and pick the chapters that talk about what you are interested in.
And just starting to think about what I want to read over the summer too, right? Because I was like, over the summer, we might do a check-in podcast episode, but we take those 3 months off for the most part. And part of me is like, it'd be cool to read Don Quixote again or read Warhammer. But also, if I'm writing a book, I need to maybe, like, my reading should be about that. So I don't know. I'm reading and thinking about reading. What about you?
That's a good balance, I suppose. At least you're doing the former, not just the latter. I've only really read one book outside of this. I feel your pain of wanting to relax, but then also feeling like that time is not going towards productivity. But anyway, I've read one book. It's called Femina, A New History of the Middle Ages by Janina. Oh God, can you help me? Janina Ramirez, I think.
Yeah,
Janina,
that's right.
And it's fun. I'm really enjoying it. It's looking at medieval history from a woman's perspective. So it's looking at a woman's role in history, specifically in medieval Europe, how we've changed what our perception is of a woman's place is not necessarily what it actually was at the time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Now, they talked about the Vikings and how women were warriors and how some of the only massive, impressive graves that they've discovered were of women. Talked a lot about Hildegard von Bingen, which is really cool. I studied her during my German master's, and she was a medieval German nun who lived in a monastery, and she became incredibly not powerful, but popular. She wrote books. She even got recognition from the Pope. She wrote music. She was a scientist. She had visions. Yeah, so they talk about her, and then also they even talk about the Cathars. Do you remember me talking about the Cathars in undergrad?
I don't remember much about them, but you talked about them a lot.
I loved them because they believed that everything on earth was of the devil. So they were like vegetarians and vegans and believed that anything of the earth was a poison from the devil, but they were very equal with genders and stuff. Speaking of gender, they also would talk about gender fluidity and like non-binary in medieval terms, right? It's a little different, obviously, than it is today. Really, really enjoyed it. Highly recommend if that tickles your fancy. But that's it. That's all I read.
I'm just imagining middle age as a woman with like a badge on their chest that says "they thine."
Nice. Yeah.
or thou thine.
Well, also, even if you look up the cover of this book, it is one of Hildegard von Bingen's art pieces, and it looks like a vagina. It's great. It's very
of the
feminist.
book you're reading, not American Psycho. I was like, it looks like a little girl.
No. No. That's Victorian Psycho. American Psycho, that'd be even creepier, but you said American Psycho.
Oh, did I? Oops.
Yeah. But anyway, moving on. This isn't a medieval podcast. So up next, as we've said many times already, we have Psycho by Robert Bloch, and then American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. And then I'm doing another twisty turn with our schedule, and we are following up American Psycho. We are going to be psychotic at this point. The next week, we're not skipping a week, because we're going to read Piñata by Leopoldo Gout for Cinco de Mayo, because Cinco de Mayo is on a Tuesday. And I thought that'd be really fun. Read some Mexican horror.
I'm excited for that.
For Cinco de Mayo, but we'll have to read American Psycho and then Piñata, both of which are not small books. I have read Piñata already, and I really enjoyed that book. So I'm hoping it holds up with a second read through. And I hope you agree that you also enjoy it.
And hopefully we won't be too psychotic by then, but maybe just enough.
Hopefully, if we are, hopefully we're like Notty, where we're entertaining. Entertaining, psychotic. Maybe not Patrick Bateman. Well, Patrick Bateman's also incredibly entertaining, but, hopefully not so serious Psycho.
Why so serious? for another Psycho?
Yeah. Who Patrick Bateman is...
Joker? What?
No, Batman.
Oh, yeah. Oh, ha! Patrick Bateman is Batman. Let's just keep it at that.
I mean, they have similar traits.
He is working... What? Patrick Bateman works on Wall Street, right? He's like...
Yeah. And lives in New York.
Okay.
They both have two sides.
Oh, like a double life or whatever?
Double life, thank you. One is very serious. One is a little goofy. I mean...
Okay. We'll see. We're going to have some interesting conversations at the end of the month.
Yeah. And I think we haven't necessarily been watching films. Like, we didn't watch The Watchers, but I think we definitely should. I think we should get the little one to watch Psycho. I think he is brave enough for that movie. If he's watching Stranger Things with me, he can watch Psycho.
Probably not American Psycho.
No, but I want you to watch that again, because I love that film.
Well, I want to watch Psycho and American Psycho just because those are like huge movies within American culture, right? Like,
yeah,
The Watchers was a movie made after a book that seemed to like do okay, but I don't know. Maybe it's fine, but it's not like...
Maybe we'll watch
not
it and bring it up at
not
some
to dig
point.
on that, but like Psycho and American Psycho are huge for our culture.
And
so.
I think that our child needs to start seeing some Alfred Hitchcock, because Alfred Hitchcock is amazing. I want him to see The Birds.
I need to see it again or see it at all.
Oh my God. It's insane. I don't understand you. You're the one who likes movies.
Yeah, but I fall asleep during them 80% of the time.
That's true. That's true.
With a book, I can read for 20 minutes and go, I'm getting sleepy, put it down. I pretty much read in 20-minute intervals. Anyway.
I don't know what you are. That's all I have to say about that.
I do everything for about 20 minutes at a time, and I cycle between my 4 or 5 activities. All right. We will see you next time for Psycho. Thanks for listening.
Well, if you've made it this far, then we didn't scare you off. Thanks for listening to Dusk to Dawn, reading horror and weird fiction.
Please rate our podcast, and if you like, follow us on Instagram at Dusk to Dawn Podcast, which is also our Gmail address. Tell us what you liked or didn't like about the show, and let us know if you have any book suggestions. See you next time. Bye.